Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a while, but yeah, let's just get straight into the video. So as you've seen from the title, I'm going to be talking about my spiritual awakening and my whole experience. Now, everyone is different. Like, I can literally only talk from my perspective and how it happened to me. It might have happened differently for people. Like, I have found through, like, you know, finding my community on like TikTok and stuff like that, I have found that a lot of people have their spiritual awakenings through something that is quite tragic to them. Or like just turmoil and like hurt and all that kind of stuff. And that was definitely how it happened for me, obviously, as you can see from the title. But I'm sure there's people that have experienced a spiritual awakening and they haven't necessarily had to go through a lot of like bad things or turmoil and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm just going to talk from my experience, talk about what happened to me, and yeah, and hopefully it will like help anyone that's either going through theirs currently or has already gone through theirs and might feel a bit, you know, alone, because I definitely did. But yeah, let's just get straight into it. So I can't remember what age I was, but I think I was in school, and I remember someone mentioning something about like manifesting, and at that time it was about, they'd mentioned the law of attraction, and they said about like, you know, you can speak things into existence, or that there was this person that was like talking about it and talking about speaking things into existence and stuff like that. And at that stage, like, I didn't really know what it is. I thought it sounded really cool. It sounded really good. Like, it sounded like this amazing little trick, little like thing that you can use when you want to like experience something or get something like very materialistic and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't pay it much attention, and I think I like heard about it at that point, and then I kind of just forgot about it, never really like spoke about it or did anything else related to that again, until maybe like a few years later, or about a year or so. I was speaking to someone, and again they'd brought up manifesting, and this time it went in a little bit deeper. I think they spoke to me about like The Secret or something like that. And so I watched the film, and this sounds good, you know, like it took, you know, you could write yourself a check, you can get a certain amount of money, you can have positive thoughts, and you can get a certain thing, and if you focus on it and all this kind of stuff, then you can have this particular thing. But again, I didn't see it as something that deep. I just thought it's like a little technique you can use when you want to get money, or you want to get a car, or like you want something like that. And I don't think at that stage I had like, so obviously now knowing what I know, I'm always manifesting, I always have been manifesting. But at that particular stage, I wasn't aware of the things that I was manifesting and what I was doing and all that kind of stuff. It was just more of like I tried to just speak things into existence. Things probably didn't come or did come, but nothing like major. But finding out more about manifesting and stuff like that kind of led me down this path of wanting to like understand more, and wanting to understand more about like the world and myself and all that kind of stuff. So at the time, I didn't know this was like a symptom of a spiritual awakening or something that's leading to it. But I remember at the time, so around this time, I was probably about like 16, 17. And I kept seeing like repeating numbers. I kept seeing 1111. I kept seeing 222. Like I just kept seeing repeating numbers, and mainly it was 1111 that I kept seeing. And I remember when so I would always see it and think, oh, like this is a bit weird, or someone had said before, oh, it's like 1111, make a wish kind of thing. So I kind of just saw it as that, and I didn't think much of it. But I was noticing that I'm seeing these repeating numbers like a lot. Like it's starting to get a little bit weird now, because I would obviously see it on the clock, I'd see it on my phone, but then I would see repeating numbers, I don't know, on like a bus or on like a social media post or something like that. And I had no idea what it was. I had no idea that these numbers meant anything, or that, you know, you can find out the meaning of it. I just thought they're just numbers. And then I remember, I can remember the times very clearly in my head. Same as like when I first heard about manifesting, I remember like I was in my room, I was somewhere like over there, and there was something on my wall there at the time. I remember that. In terms of the repeating numbers, I remember I was waiting for the bus and I was just on Instagram, and then there was this girl that I'd followed that I'd met before, and I remember that this is before stories, I think. So I remember like she had made a post, and then she said something about like angel number 1111, and I remember like I went to go and Google this thing, and I was like, oh my gosh, what are angel numbers? What does 1111 mean? I was like reading into it, and then like anytime an angel number would pop up, I would read into it. I'd want to know like what it meant and what it meant for me and all that kind of stuff. But again, I just thought, I didn't think too much of it. I just thought it's just another thing. At the time, I was religious and I would consider myself a Christian. So to me, the messages from the angel numbers and all that kind of stuff meant a different thing to me then than it does now. But at the time, again, I didn't really think too much of it. It was, okay, like this, this is interesting. Or like, what does this mean? What is this number? What does this number mean? I didn't really know what all of this meant and what it was like leading up to. And then around that kind of time, I was in a relationship, and I'll talk about it more in another video that I'm gonna do. But at that time, I'd manifested like an unconditional offer to the university that I went to. Again, I wasn't fully aware of what I was doing and how I did it. I just knew what I wanted, and that's what I got. Anyway, so the relationship that I was in at the time, it wasn't a good relationship. Things were really bad, etc., etc. And in my first year of uni, I became like very depressed. At the time, I didn't know that I was depressed necessarily, like in the particular moment. But as time went on and all that kind of stuff, I realized that I was depressed. I was going through depression. It was hitting me hard and affecting me a lot. And it was around that time that I just remember I had this deep sense and this deep feeling of like, I feel like there's more. Like I had so many unanswered questions. I had so many questions about like, just about like myself. What is my purpose? Like, what does this mean? Like, to me, it was like, we're not just here for like no reason. Like, what is the reason? Like, I want to know more. And like at that time in my life, there was a lot of things that were happening to me in terms of my depression and like relationship issues and all that kind of stuff that I was questioning, like why is this happening to me? And it's something that like, it was something that had like bothered me at the time about like, messages about people being favored and all that kind of stuff, and some people are and some people aren't. And that's something that really bothered me, because then it was just like, so how is that chosen? Like, how is that a thing? Like, why are all these like negative and bad things happening to me? Like, what am I doing? Like, what is going on, kind of thing. And it was just this deep desire of wanting to know more and wanting to learn more, which at the time, like I had, but I wasn't necessarily actively doing anything to get those answers. It was just like a deep sense, a deep knowing, like within myself. It's kind of hard to explain, but it was just a very like, I don't know, like I knew there was like some kind of answer that I was searching for, basically. And then more bad stuff happened. Basically, I didn't get into my third year. I'd ended up failing an exam that you had to pass to get into the third year. I basically got kicked out of uni, but I manifested getting myself back in. Again, I'll go into detail in another video. And at that time, I knew that I was purposely manifesting it, but I was into the law of attraction then, and I just had this perception and this view of it as if like, oh, like you only just use this thing when you want like special stuff to happen, not that you are always manifesting all that kind of stuff, which I know now. But at the time it was like, okay, let me just use this thing, let me just see if it works and see if I can manifest me getting back into uni, which I did. But anyway, so so yeah, so just throughout my life, my teenage years, like all that kind of stuff, as soon as like boys started coming into my life, it's always been negative and bad stuff, and just a lot of like hurt, and just not nice stuff, basically. And this is one of the things I was saying about, like, for a lot of people with their spiritual awakening, from what I've found and what I've seen on TikTok and on like and all that kind of stuff, it's different for everyone, but it's normally a series of like negative or just bad things that happen to you that lead you to this place, basically. And so for me, it was relationships. So anyway, so then when I was in my final year, I'm trying to think of the time frame because I had to read. Okay, yeah, so I'm trying to think now. Yeah, no, so when I eventually got back into uni and then it came to my final year, basically I had met someone, and then because I feel like because of uni, because you're in such an enclosed space, you have your own, you know, like you have your own place, you know, everything is just there. Like, it's just so much more easier to interact with people, spend time with people. If you spend time with someone, it's very, very intense. I ended up meeting someone. It was very intense in a sense that, you know, we spent a lot of time together. It was always together, etc., etc. And at that time, I really felt like, at that time I loved that person. It was a bit complicated, but you know, at that time I thought, like, this is the person, I'm gonna marry this person, etc., etc. And then I remember, so this bit will make sense when I explain the other bit, but I remember there being one particular time that we were just like chilling, and I remember I had this like deep sense, and like I had these thoughts of like, oh my gosh, like this is too good to be true, like he's probably going to go back to his ex, or this probably isn't going to work out, whatever. And then basically a week later, he didn't go back to it. Not to get into details, but basically things just ended. Basically things were ended. He didn't want to speak to me anymore. Like, that was it. And yeah, that led me into more depression. I think I was depressed for like a week or so. I was like beside myself. Like, it was tough. It was really, really rough. But then that led me, so I remember the day, I think it was the 27th of March. So my spiritual awakening happened 2 years ago. So it was the 27th of March, 2019, I think. And I remember I'd came back home from uni because I just needed to get away from there, and just be at home, etc., etc. And I remember I just had this intense feeling, this intense level of like, I need to just do this. I thought I was crazy for doing it at the time. Now I know that I'm not, but at the time I was like, so I know about manifesting. I know that you can manifest stuff, but can you manifest like an ex back? Can you manifest a relationship again? So I literally Googled like how to manifest an ex back. It came up on like Reddit. I was searching through, and then I came across a YouTuber called 𝗘𝗫𝗣𝗟𝗍𝗍. And everyone was talking about her and how, like, you know, her stuff is so amazing. If you want that, if you want to manifest that. I started watching her videos, and I think I started watching her videos initially, and, you know, listening to all her success stories and all this kind of stuff. And then I somehow came across Neville Goddard. So Anya does talk about Neville Goddard, but I came across Neville Goddard on another like Reddit page or whatever, and I was like, who is this person and what is the law of assumption? That is when my spiritual awakening happened for me. Once I started reading his stuff, once I started reading his books, listening to his lectures, like all of that, I cannot explain the feeling, but it was as if something suddenly changed within my mind, and it was as if the stuff I was reading, it was as if I was like it wasn't like I was learning something new and I'm reading this and oh, like this sounds really interesting, this is new and exciting. It was as if I was remembering like who I truly am and what like, and the power of my mind, the power that I have to create my reality. Like I cannot it's just everything. Basically I went from being unconscious and being asleep or whatever, and then I woke up. I had my awakening. Everything was so much more clearer. Everything just made sense now. Everything that had happened to me in, you know, in my life, in different situations and all that kind of stuff. Again, like I said earlier, it would make sense. Even the situation with the guy, I, based on, you know, what everything Neville was saying and all that kind of stuff, I could see how I basically caused that relationship to end by having that intense thought, by feeling and knowing and focusing on the fact that this person is going to leave me and it's not going to work out, etc., etc. Like everything just made sense, and it was the most liberating experience. And I can't lie, at first it was like, you know, this is amazing, like, oh my gosh, imagine all the things I can do and I can achieve now that I know this, whatever. Like I was reading all the stuff, I was reading all his books, listening to all his lectures, like finding other YouTubers that talk about Neville Goddard and talk about the law of assumption and all that kind of stuff. And I definitely went through a phase where probably for about like a year or so, I think I was just in, let me just learn. I wasn't actually like practicing and actually doing the stuff. I was learning it and understanding it from like an intellectual point of view and wanting to learn more, but I wasn't actually delving into what this means for my life and what this means for like me as a person and all that kind of stuff. And like, yeah, that's when I had, you know, like the ego death, and it was as if a part of me had died, basically, like that part of my unconsciousness, or, you know, whatever word you want to use for it, had like gone. And it's like once you have your spiritual awakening and your eyes are opened up to you know, all of this stuff, you can't go back. And I think there can be like a common misconception. Same with, you know, when people say the word like enlightenment or awakening or stuff like that, I feel like there's a common misconception that it's going to be like this amazing thing, which in the moment for me, it definitely was. Like I cannot explain to you the amount of power that I felt, how liberated I felt, and how like, oh my gosh, like I am finally like in control. Like I know what I just felt I'm finally in control. Like I finally took my power back, and to know that, you know, I can create my reality, I can create my life, all that kind of stuff. But then it's not like you just have your awakening and then that's it. Life's great, you're manifesting everything that you want, you know, everything is amazing. Like it's not like that. I think that your spiritual awakening is just like, that is just the start. Like first of all, part of this journey is knowing that you know nothing, and you know nothing. You are never going to stop learning. You're never going to stop growing and being on your journey. And it's a journey whereby, you know, you might take 3 steps forward and then take 2 steps back. You might, you know, have another like epiphany about things. There's always things that you're constantly learning. And I feel like your awakening is just the start of your journey. Yeah, like that is just the start of your journey, and then it continues from there. And another thing, so with me especially, when I was going through my spiritual awakening, you definitely feel crazy, because the stuff that you start to remember, you start to read about and you're remembering about, makes you feel crazy, because it's not something that is commonly, you know, you're not brought up that way. It's not something that's taught in schools. It's not something that is like widely accessible and even widely accepted. And so for me, like I definitely felt I definitely felt very alone. And I think as well, like coming from a situation where I was Christian and I did believe all that stuff to now my beliefs has like completely changed. I definitely did within myself feel isolated and feel like I can't speak to anyone about this because they're gonna think I'm crazy, they're gonna think I'm mad. Like, you know, it's not the same thing as what people around me believe. I'm not going to be able to speak on this. And so for a long time I didn't. Like, it's literally only now that I'm able to speak about it, now that I've made, you know, a friend that is also into manifesting, that's on, you know, that's on her own journey. Like, she pushed me to even make my YouTube and to make manifesting videos and to talk about what I know and all that kind of stuff. And then, if I'm being completely honest, it's only my real confidence about it has come from TikTok, because as much as I know I am not the only person in this world to have gone through a spiritual awakening and to have the same, you know, thoughts and beliefs and all that kind of stuff, and to know what I know, when it comes to spiritual awakenings, obviously it's different for everyone. And it can happen at different times for people. And just because I've gone through one doesn't mean that, you know, my friends and my family and people around me have gone through theirs or are going to go through theirs or whatever. So you do end up feeling very, very alone. And it's, for me, it was only when I found TikTok and I was like, oh my gosh, there's actually other people talking about this stuff. They get this stuff. Like, I'm not crazy. They're having the same experiences as me. Like, TikTok for me has allowed me to find my community and allowed me to be a lot more comfortable with who I am now, and being able to speak about this stuff, to talk about it, to teach it, and all that kind of stuff. So if you're currently going through your spiritual awakening, or if you already have, you are not alone. You're gonna feel crazy. You're gonna want other people around you to wake up, or, you know, leave the matrix or whatever. Like, you're gonna want that, but you're not alone. Like, and I feel like on this journey, like, everyone's journey is different, and I think the main thing is for you to grow in the best way for you. Like, you'll be pushed and you will resonate with different, like, teachers and different people along the way. Like, for me, like I said, it started off with 𝗀𝗎𝗇 and, like, you know, manifesting my ex back. That's not what sparked the final thing. Obviously it was a build-up of things, but that to me was the, like, specific moment where it was like I was led directly to the answers that I had been searching for and for what I'd wanted to know. But then, even, like, you know, even now, you then will move on to different people. You'll learn different things. You'll meet new people who know more. And, like, I don't know everything. I'm not ever going to know everything, but it's a journey. And it's a journey that, as much as it's hard, because once you have your spiritual awakening, you realize certain things. You realize that you can't blame other people. You have to be, like, you're responsible for yourself and all that kind of stuff. And that is hard. And that is something that, again, even though you've had your awakening and you know these things, you're still human. You still have an ego that is going to want to take you back, not fully back to that place, but it's still going to want to blame other people. And I can't lie, like, even for me, I had my awakening 2 years ago, but I still go through situations now where initially in my mind I'm like, no, it's that person, blah blah blah. I want to, you know, be angry at them all the time, and I want to be angry at this or that, or it's this or it's that. And then you have to like remind yourself and realize that it's not that, and you can't do that. And that is one thing that I think is definitely hard about the awakening. I think that, and the feeling isolated and feeling like you are alone and no one's going to understand you, and, you know, you're around your friends, you're around your family, you hear them speaking about certain things and you just want to be able to tell them, like, you know, you can create your reality, like, go read this, go do that. But not everyone is ready for that, and that's not what everyone believes, and that's fine. And that's something that on your journey you will learn to accept, and you will learn to realize that, you know, this journey is for you. and sometimes you can't take everyone along for the ride, and that is okay at the end of the day. So yeah, in another video I'll talk more specifically about like things I've actually manifested and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that is my story. That is how my spiritual awakening happened. Definitely leave a comment down below and let me know how your spiritual awakening happened, like, you know, what led up to it, what was the sudden moment that for you was like, you know, what was it for you that led you down that path and led you to your spiritual awakening and all that kind of stuff. Like, I'm really interested to know how how other people have like experienced this and what their experience has been. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I hope, like I said, if there's anyone that currently feels alone or feels like they are by themselves on this awakening or this journey, you are not. You have me. I am here for you. And there is a whole TikTok community that is also there for you. And I cannot recommend finding those people, typing in like spiritual awakening as a hashtag and going and finding those people and finding your community and finding those that are like-minded and on the same journey as you, because that honestly has helped me so much, and I know that it will help others. But yeah, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.